All right, we're live. One of my favorite days of the week because I get to spend it with all of you and all of you. So, hey, everyone, welcome. My name is Marilyn Shannon, and this is SkyWire. And we are really happy to be here, as we always are, to um, discover, dissect, explore, learn the dimensions of where listening can take us. And we do it piece by piece, word by word, sentiment by sentiment, experience by experience. And that's how we discover where listening can take us because we're on this listening journey. And thank you for being here with us. So if you are tuning in and you are listening to the replay, I had an interesting thought earlier today because I saw a couple of people who said they wanted to come, but they had to listen, watch on the replay. And I thought, well, all of life is a replay. So it's just a replay for a replay. So anyway, welcome. We're glad to have you whenever you show up. So today, our topic is about needs and wants. And we're going to do what we usually do, and we're going to allow listening to help us discover what does that mean? What does that look like? What are needs and wants as we refer to listening? So I'm going to ask, first I'm going to welcome everybody here. So there's Heidi, there's Elaine, who's been gone for a little while. Hi, Elaine. And Gail and Jamie. I know, he's a man, and he's the first one who's willing to stay, and we welcome him, so we're so happy. And Kalani, who's been gone for a little while, and we're glad you're back and feeling better. And Katrina and Margherita and Sheila, welcome everybody. And Sheila, just so you know, Sheila's always here and helping before the show, after the show, during the show, and she's listening to her need. She has some things she has to take care of. She wants to be here, but she also has some needs. So she's going to be doing some things for a couple of weeks, and she won't be with us, but we miss her and love her, and whenever she's able to come back, welcome her with open arms. So Gail, who just left her chair, I wanted Gail to start chatting with all of us about needs and wants, because she made a comment that this is her favorite subject. And out of all the things you can talk about and all the things you can listen to, for this to be her favorite comment is extraordinary. So I wanted to have Gail start us off with what makes this her favorite conversation. Gail?
Okay. I don't know if it's very easy to explain, but I will say that what you're saying is really true, and that for me personally, determining the difference between wants and needs is one of the core foundations of my spiritual path and my spiritual journey. And let's see, I would say that determining the difference between wants and needs is so important to me because it helps me to really know who I am. And when I say that, for me personally, I mean who I am in relation to God or the cosmos, whatever word you want to use, because I'm not separate from that. And when I see myself as part of the cosmos or the universe, that's where I really get to experience my true power, who I am as a powerful person, a powerful woman. And in that context, I'm not talking about controlling or manipulating. I'm talking about putting the power of the universe or the life force behind me in my life and using it in my life so that I could make the right choices. And so oftentimes, I think it really comes down to determining the difference between a want and a need in relation to who I am, because, let's see, a lot of times we want something in our life. We get attached to something, we get attached to a certain outcome, like whatever it is. Like, okay, I'll give you just a really quick example. So my camera is a little screwy, right? So I really did not want it to look like this, because I think I look ridiculous, and so I was fussing and fussing and fussing, and I really, really, really badly did not want this camera to be this way. But it came to be a certain point, it was 10 to 11, and I had to choose, okay? Yeah, I wanted my camera to be fixed, but what I needed, what was really aligned with who I was in that moment, was that I needed to stop fussing with the camera, and I needed to just get centered and be calm and connect with everybody and become present. So it's just a little example, but if we let our wants run rampant, the extreme of that is addiction. And so I think that understanding the difference between what we want as our ego self and what we truly need, which is in alignment with our life and creation, frankly, I think it's the difference between life and death. And, that may seem a little melodramatic to people, but to me that's really true, because you could go from heaven to hell from the shift of awareness. So I think I'll stop there.
Okay, that's one thing I want to say, and then I'm not going to talk much. Listening certainly helps us to understand what the differences are. I mean, whatever we're talking about. And I think it's a very powerful conversation that Gail began about power and making the choice between what is a need and what is a want, and what is being needy. So now I'm going to ask Heidi to share with us what she thinks.
Yeah, I think that culturally we women were used to be grown up without really acknowledging our needs. We have been used to suppress the needs collectively and individually. For me, for sure, this too. It's only 5 years ago when I began the path of the coaching, which I'm doing now. When I entered there and we had these exercises, this process work to find the needs, I didn't know what I needed. And this is ever deeper listening to really know, what do I need? What do I need, And in my life, I normally have substituted the needs with wants. Sometimes probably they were coinciding, but often not. So wants for me is much more from the head. Decisions made by the head. I want that, Well, as Gail said so beautifully, she wants the camera to work. Sure, we all would do that, But the need often is a different thing. And I think through listening, we can really listening to the body also, find out what the needs is. And for me, it's still a process in work. And I would put in also the desire as opposed to wants, because desire is for me something which comes more from the inside, from the listening process. Why want for me is something which is, a decision which is not necessarily aligned with who I am and what my goals are and what my deeper purpose is, let's say. So far. I have here, you see, a company.
And he has a need. That was very good.
He has a need for love.
Yes, he does. So that was very interesting, Heidi. Thanks for opening up that piece about the head, and maybe that wants are coming from. Are you saying the wants are coming from the head?
For me, more from the head. Yeah.
More from the head. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So you know what? There's a lot of things that are going to come up here. So let's listen to the bits and pieces that you hear, and then we're going to kind of zero in and see what's the story. What is the story we're telling? So listen. So now it's Elaine.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Or afternoon, or depending on where you are. So I really resonate with the things Gail said, that the wants that are showing up in how we're experiencing life tend to come from being in the state of more contracted or ego frame of reference, which continually wants to relate to experience from the past, problems in the past and then worries about the future, and forgetting that in the now moment, usually everything we truly need is already there. It's just we're blinded by the perceptions of the past and the insistency of the ego that says, our fulfillment is in the future. And so those are the things that come to mind when talking about wants and needs. Now, for myself, for this morning, I was traveling back to my home from my parents, where I've been for the last day and a half. Lots of dynamics going on with them that's, looking like there are changes going on in my life and routines and stuff like that. And as I got home, maybe my body said, I want to go to sleep. But when I listened and I paid attention, it's like, I need to be in this energetic space of love and communion and discussion and listening. And, and that was paying attention to the now and remembering I can feel this fulfillment in the now.
So some of what I'm hearing from the three of you so far is that sometimes we have to make a choice, or we don't have to, but we can make a choice by listening. And even though we have a need, we can change the need to a want or a deeper need based on our listening. And so the other thing is, and I thought while you were talking, Elaine, and we don't have to address this now, but one of the things I'm going to throw out there that I heard was wants are also dreams. So maybe based on what Heidi said, they're not always, maybe some wants are from the head, like I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that, but then there are also the wants that come from our heart and our creative selves, which are our dreams, like the things, I'd want that, So listening down into that helps us know the difference. So I see we have a comment. You want to put that up, Heidi?
Yeah, this is Doris Dale. She says, thanks to Sheila. And yes, figuring out what you need deep down in your soul takes time.
Yeah, it takes the time to listen. Listening is the time. That's a good comment. Thank you, Dory, and thanks, Dory, for being here. And everybody that's listening, out there, we'd love to hear your comments, and that's a great way for you to take part in this conversation. So let us hear from you. So Jamie, you're next.
Yeah, well, I would definitely agree with everything that's been said so far, especially knowing, and this comes through listening, right? Knowing what you need, what you really need, not just what you want out of being spoiled or whatever, but what you really need for your soul, for your soul's growth, for the evolution of your spirit. Those are the real needs that you have to listen to and pay attention to, I think. I would add another perspective here, because for me, with my background in psychology, for me, needs are associated with values also. I've noticed with myself, and I think it's probably general with other people, is that when things in life are not going well, or when you're experiencing a lot of kind of disharmony and kind of being out of line with yourself and so on, I found that it's very much what happens when your actions are not in line with your highest values. So when you hold some kind of deep values about what you should do in life, or what you should be, what you should say, and so on, or spiritual values and so on, when you're not in line with those values, you experience discomfort, suffering, disharmony. And a lot of the times, the reason why you're not in line with those values is because there are needs in your life which are pulling you in an opposite direction. And often we want to live our life according to our values, but for some reason we're not. And when you look deep inside yourself, you realize that there are some other needs arising in your life which are at conflict with your values. And in psychology, in human needs psychology, they talk about 6 universal human needs that every human has. These 6 universal needs of significance, love and connection, contribution, variety, and security. And these needs are really important, and we have to meet these needs. Even when we don't realize it, we're trying to meet these needs. And what can often happen is that we end up doing things that are not in line with our values, that lead us to try to meet those needs in ways which are not very helpful or not very constructive. So in this perspective, the idea is to, through listening, is to understand what your needs are and to find ways that you can meet those needs which are in line with your values. And in that way, you'll create more harmony in your life as you live more in alignment with your true self. And so for me, needs are something that you can't ignore. They're a very powerful motivation that have an effect below the sort of conscious level. And when you stop and listen to yourself, you can identify what those needs are in your life, what are your most important needs, and how you can align your actions and your behavior so that you're meeting those needs in a way which is not harmful or not destructive to you. Yeah. If that makes any sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense, because what I just thought about was, and everybody, I don't know what everybody else was thinking, but when you say, okay, I need to eat, but then it's I need to eat. Oh, I need to eat. I need to eat. I need to eat. When do you stop saying that that's a need that you need? At some point, a need is not a need that you need. Right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and it kind of goes out of proportion, doesn't it? It becomes kind of distorted, and it's no longer an important need for the growth of your soul, but I suppose it becomes more of a want in that sense, isn't it? It's just something that you want, but you don't really need.
Maybe I have to listen for that to distinguish, because I'm not sure yet. I have to hear it. But those are really great points. The 4 of you brought up great points so far. Wonderful. So now Kalyani.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Good morning, good afternoon, where everybody is. I love everything that's being said. I think that one valuable point that we can take from all this is that we're all on an individual journey. So needs, wants, desires, I kind of interchange wants and desires, but we all have different needs, wants, and desires in our life. We're fundamentally different, although we're collectively very similar. And for me, I think they're all great. I don't see anything wrong with wanting something or wanting to experience life a certain way. I think desires are powerful because desires are inspired through us, and sometimes I guess translated as a want, but I have a little bit of a distinguish between them. And I really believe that we're based on, there's like this soup, okay? So we are every moment making choices in our life, and the more, as Jamie was saying, the more we are conscious, aware, in alignment with who we are, what we want to be experiencing, what we want to be giving out into the world in the expression that we are, the more that you're in alignment with that, I have found in my personal experience that I'm experiencing what I need at every moment. I learned something a long time ago, probably 20 years ago, when I first started on this very inward journey from Deepak Chopra. And he said something like this: when you are experiencing something at any moment in your life and you are pushing up against it and saying, well, this is not fun, I don't like this, or that's not how I want it to be, you're in resistance to what's occurring. And that creates pain, disconnect, unhappiness, all kinds of unpleasure. When you go with the flow, you're saying, okay, life, this is the alignment that I'm needing right now. This is going to bring me into greater alignment with who I am. If you're a person that is choosing consciously to listen and be aware and choose from a place of power, not from a place of fear and, it's got to be this way, or I have to have it like that because that's what makes people, successful, or this or that. So they all go together, and I really think that need, want, desire is something that as you are more in alignment with yourself, what you're experiencing right now, that's what you need. It can't be any other way, or you wouldn't be experiencing that. So that can translate as a need. Like you were saying, Marilyn, sometimes if you say, oh, I need to eat because I feel this rumbly in my tummy, right? Well, just because you feel that rumbly in your tummy doesn't mean you need to eat. There could be many reasons that's happening. But the brain kicks in and says, I need this to occur. Well, just go with the flow more and be more inward to know, okay, what I'm experiencing right now must be what I need because I'm here in this moment in it. What I desire might look a little different from what I'm experiencing right now, but if I open to that flow, then I can say, okay, well, this moment is presenting what I need to take me closer in alignment with that desire or / want.
Well, Kalyani, you said a lot of really poignant things, and one of the things you opened with, which I think is very important in anything we do and in going forward, is to recognize the fact that we're all on a different journey. Maybe on a similar journey, but it all looks different. So I think that's really huge, number one. And number two, I would say that anything that we do, we're listening for balance. Or anything, listening for balance in our needs, listening for balance in our wants, anything that we're doing, we're listening for the balance. Because then anything, want from the heart is going to be a dream, or it's going to be like, I want. Or the same thing with needs, listening to our need in balance is healthy, right? But when it turns to the ego, it's not so healthy. Then we become needy and all of those things, and then we can't tell the difference between when we've had enough food and when we want just keep on eating. So you brought up some really huge points. So thank you. And now, Katrina.
Good morning. Hello to everybody. Listening to everybody so far, it's really interesting how each powerful standpoint really does build on each other. So I want to acknowledge that everything that they're saying, there is that thread that's building for all of us. But when you were talking about balance, Marilyn, that's really where I wanted to take the next step in the conversation. Because for me as an empath, I always was in a position where I'm constantly trying to figure out, are these my wants? Are these my needs? Are these someone else's? And that's been a very interesting journey in and of itself. And within that, understanding that I can choose me first. That although I feel this person wants this from me or needs this from me, I have to make an active choice to put myself first and really listen to what it is that I need in that moment and what I want in that moment. And that's been my personal journey a lot of this time. And it's been very interesting, just the experiences that I've had that have gotten me to this place. But my experience has actually been very different in terms of, sort of that deciphering. And I'm not saying other people don't have that as well, but that's just my unique experience with it. So balance is very important to me because I am not only balancing my stuff, but the information that I'm getting from others too.
So it's no wonder when we're tuned in like we are in this listening that there's been so many times, and I agree with you, Katrina, that I'm hearing each and every one of them, every one of you say something I that has been beautiful, and I could not say it that way, but I've wanted to say something about what you're saying, and it was at the tip of my tongue just as you started. And so often I'm sitting and go, yeah, I would have said that too, but you say it so great, and you all say it so great. So I agree. We're all tuned in, And that's what makes this really extraordinary. And each of you are like, so just right there in the moment, in the second. So yeah, and this thing about balance, very important to listen for that. When everything else fails, that's where you go. What is the sound of balance? Margherita?
The sound of balance is that river that is inside of us. It's that pranic energy flow that we use in healing to align with our center, which some of you have talked about. And because I work with healing, and when we're in that flow, that river, it gets us to an ecstatic state. And if we can stay in that river inside and just follow that flow all through the day, then we don't really experience that I want that, or I want this, or oh, I need that, because everything is already fulfilled because we are in that alignment. So I totally agree with everybody else who's talked about that. And then if you think about that river that flows inside of us, if there is an obstacle there, you will notice it. You will get stuck. And that's when you know, okay, I need to do this. I need to fulfill that. I need to fix this thing, because there is like a log in that stream that blocks us. And that's could be on any one level. I mean, if we talk about the chakra levels, like in the root chakra, maybe there is fears there. And so this river leads us to those fears so we can address them as we need it, as we're walking, as we're listening.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, that's a beautiful, because I'm sitting here, I'm visioning this river, and I'm visioning myself, and I'm saying, and the same with a lot of people, as you listen, the blending of the two, the need and the want, they blend more, right? You don't pay attention to too much of the difference until you have to, right? Until you have to. And go ahead. What were we going to say?
Yeah, that's very true. And I mean, I'm also going to say that it's colors inside. It's like emotional responses. That's so delightful. And wherever anyone is, they have those experiences on different levels. Like if you're in the heart, of course, it's delightful and loving. But also it could be in a higher chakra where there is this like a bliss feeling where follow your bliss. So this is very different in the development of each person. For me, I just love this journey.
Yes. I remember when I was 18 years old or 19 years old, I was in a group therapy, and I remember the therapist was going around asking people what they wanted in life. I had no idea what to say. Nobody ever asked me, what do you want? And when it came to me, I was completely voiceless. I felt this awful feeling in my gut because I could not answer. I had no idea what I wanted. And maybe there are times in many people's transitions. You know, I kind of felt that way too when I separated. I didn't know what things to choose. I didn't know what I wanted. I had always gone along with what somebody else wanted. So I think, you know, it's interesting to pay attention and to listen to where are you, and you know, where are you coming from, to understand the stage that we might be in, and to listen, because the listening helps us not stay stuck at a stage and helps it to be okay. So Sheila, do you want to partake?
This is profound yet silly, but I want to share it with y'all. I am doing the technology, and I'm checking comment tracker, and I'm going over the event page, and I'm checking for comments, and I'm going over to YouTube, and I'm checking for comments. I'm still listening to everything you're saying. It's just that my eyes are moving around, and all of a sudden, I forgot who was speaking, but it sort of started with Jamie and then Kalyani and then Katrina, and then when it got to Margherita, I realized I was so hungry because y'all had spoken of being hungry so much, and then I realized it was because I was listening to y'all express yourselves, and now I'm hungry. So see how you affect people when you, because I'm listening to you and y'all are talking and you have made me physically hungry. There's no reason I should be hungry. I had breakfast and right now my body is saying feed me, feed me. So you are affecting me. Everything that you've said I resonate with. I really do. The need and the want and the decision to make. So I really do. Thank you. That's very good.
Right. To take notice, to sit back and listen, to analyze maybe what is this coming up,
Mm-hmm.
and where is it coming from. And I think at some point, I don't know if I'm sure I've mentioned it here, but quick listening is when every part of you, cells, your bones, your gut, every part of you has gotten it, and there's nowhere to go. It's arrived. You know, you're there. You have this. You've been on the river and you've had this sweeping thing, and it's just taking you where you wanted to go, and you've heard it, and there's no. You just know. You know. So we've all had a turn now. Who has something to address from what you've heard? Kalyani, your first hand up. Go.
Yes, I definitely do, Marilyn. I just want to share my perspective of that. I think that there's been a pervading energy for God knows how many centuries, really, that wants are not something that we should have. Wants, desires. I hear a lot of conversation happening of like people don't know what they want. When, like you said, Marilyn, when you were asked what you want, you didn't really know how to answer that. And that might be what drives a lot of people in their daily wants, let's say, that they don't really even know why they want it, but there's this energy that says wanting something, desiring to experience life in a certain way, or have this thing in your life, that's not a good thing. There's a lot of energy around that's selfish. You should have what you need. And I just really want people to embrace that wanting things is okay. Wanting to experience something, it's okay. There's no right or wrong to it. What's important is that you look at why do you want that in your life? And when you want something or to experience, I don't want it to always seem like it's like a thing that we're trying to get, a physical thing. It's just a want, a desire is to experience something in a certain way. You vision it in a certain way, or you want to, take this trip somewhere. There's nothing wrong with wanting anything. I think it's a matter of, is it in alignment with really who you are and what you're expressing, and knowing that just because you want it right now, it came through this inspiration in your head or your thoughts or whatever, doesn't mean it has to happen right this minute. Leave open for some greater growth and awareness. Like I think that there's this track of I want a successful business so that way I can buy my big house and I can have my fancy car and I can take my trips and I can, live my life however I want. And all of that's great and okay, but is it truly in alignment with you? Do you really need that big house, or do you think that that's part of the design that makes you fulfilled in a certain way? So great, put those wants and desires on your list, so to speak, but don't think that they have to happen today. I have grown into this, and I teach this to my kids, that when they say I want something, I say, great, you've just given your order to the universe. Now go about your life and be open for when and how that want is going to present itself, and let the flow occur. It's okay. You're not selfish for wanting something. It doesn't matter whether you need it or you don't. Just know that it was inspired and move forward. Keep living life in this moment, and when that want is meant to align with you, it will, if it's meant to. And if it doesn't, you're okay.
That's very good points and good permission to dream, to have wants. And then I would also add to that, to listen to when you turn your want into it, into receiving, into helping the want into reality. Because we can stay on that fence forever, wanting this, wanting that, wanting this, wanting that, and having an empty life. It's okay to create them. So Kalani, thanks, that was good. Who's next? Oh,
I would
Heidi?
like
Go
to
ahead.
speak,
Okay.
yeah, because of the wants. I think
Yes.
we are living in a society where wants are created artificially. And we are always, I mean, as conscious as we are and can be, but we are always drawn back because psychologically they do the advertisement, today it's not advertisement, I'm listening now to a series of webinars which then go into the pitch that we should buy a certain program. They do it really well. I could observe in myself, although I'm convinced that I don't need the product. There was, at a certain moment, there was the sort of need or want created, I better do it, when they manipulate with scarcity and exaggerate what would be bad if you don't buy their products and so on. These sorts of wants which are created, which are not really yours, it is very hard to distinguish what is really yours and then stay with what you know it's your want and not being drawn into this, marketing. And it's not only marketing, so obvious marketing, it is everyday life. We always think we need a big car or we need a house or we need, I don't know what, or we want. It's only because somebody has put it into our minds that this is the right way to live. Is it really our need or our want? So I really think there's much to do with this listening and then to be able to decide for what we know it's right instead of being drawn by a desire part of us, the hope part of us that now finally we get it, yeah. That's what I wanted to add to that.
It's very, very important what you're bringing up too. So we want to listen to that. It's okay to have needs because we have them. It's okay to have wants. It's all part of life. To ask where they're coming from. Are they mine? Are they somebody else's? Is somebody manipulating me? Or is that your need? Am I attaching myself to your need because I am scared? And if I don't have that need, something's going to happen to me. And if I don't want this or I don't want that, is something wrong with me that I don't want more of something? Something. So these are excellent. So that was really good too, Heidi. Thank you for bringing up about that external advertising because it's pervasive and it's all over and it is manipulation. So that was great. Who's next? Katrina, go.
Well, I think an important part of the cycle too that it's been on other shows that we've talked about is gratitude. So when something comes to be, are you kind of adding gratitude to the mix and saying, wow, this need was fulfilled very easily, or I was able to get what I want. So I think that there is gratitude in this whole cycle as well, and where does that fit in for you? Or are you always like, hey, this one's checked off the list and moving on to the next thing that I know I want? And those pieces kind of fit together, I think, really nicely. And when gratitude is part of that, I think you're more aware of where those needs and wants fit in, right? I mean, I think it just puts things in perspective. And in terms of just sort of looking at that bigger picture, I think it's really helpful to review your needs and wants every year. We're so into doing stuff like, well, hey, a lot of times people do that for New Year's resolutions, but why not do that once a quarter so that you're talking about things that are still in alignment with you 3 months later, 6 months later, 9 months later. Those are all very important things too.
That's interesting. So the gratitude piece, I think, is a very interesting thing to explore, but also the notion of does a need or want become a habit? And what breaks the habit is listening to know that it's a habit and that it's not something that's even fulfilling anymore, but it's something I'm used to. That was real. You're all bringing up things that I'm really connecting to and thinking about. So it's great. Who's next? Elaine, did you have your hand up? Go.
First of all, just to continue on from what Katrina was saying, the practice of gratitude is so helpful for bringing us back to the feeling state of being in the now, noticing something, even an experience of the past, but we're reliving it in the now, and we're appreciating it. So I think that's really, really important to get us back to the place of centering and then listening again for, okay, what do I need now? During the program, I found myself reflecting on the word need as related to desire. And just looking at the letters in the word desire, I just noticed S-I-R-E, like of siring, of the Father, of that creative impulse that ultimately, for something to come into, creation and form, it has to merge with the opposite polarity. And in this time of waking up, it's all about the union of polarities. So when we're noticing our desire and a feeling that's coming from source, if we want to call it the Father, that impulse to create, then it's going to want to move and connect with the polar opposite to then bring something new into form. That's just what came to mind to me. I thought I'd throw it out there.
One of the things that I want to kind of pin up there, like an eye, pin it like it was a comment, was one of the things, and it was a very simple thing that Elaine said, is listening again. That's what you do with everything that we do. We listen again. We listen again. We listen again. We listen again. So to keep moving these things, to keep understanding and discovering and unraveling and making sense of things, you listen again. You get a message, you listen again. And that's what we're doing. That's why if you go back and as you listen to this replay, sometimes I want to go back and listen to it again and again and again, because there's so much here that you just want to keep listening again, because this depicts how life is. Somebody brings up a comment and it sparks something in somebody, and this is how it's unraveling and how you get to the meanings. So it's very good. And passion, desire, these types of things help us listen to them, help them distinguish, help us to understand what choices we want to make. Those feelings that Margherita talked about earlier. And then, of course, the gratitude helps to maybe, in some regard, releases it so we can go on to another one. So, Jamie, yeah.
Yeah, you knew I had something to say, right?
I sure did. I heard you.
Yeah, well, I'm just following on the thread, really. Something which I heard as Kalyani was speaking, and this kind of thread developed as Katrina and Elaine continued talking, is about how needs that we have in our life are very much linked with our spiritual awareness and our connection with our higher self or our divine self. I think your divinity within you knows what you need more than what you think you need for yourself, right? And the divinity is always trying to guide you so that you grow spiritually and come closer to that union with the universal consciousness, right? And I think it's very much different for people who are consciously on the spiritual path, because we often have needs, or maybe we could say wants. We could say that you want something in life, and you think you need those things, but your divinity knows that you don't really need them. But in some cases, I think your divinity gives you those things in order for you to realize that you don't need them. And in that way, you're kind of learning the lessons that it's like you have a kind of a desire to play with a new toy or whatever, and you think it was going to give you fulfillment. And when your divinity contrives to provide the circumstances in which you can fulfill that need, then you sort of realize, oh, well, that didn't fulfill me. So then you continue looking for the next thing, and as a spiritual process, that moves you closer to your divinity, right? So in that way, needs serve us because by the process of elimination, they bring us closer to our divinity.
That is so true too. Gosh, this is so. See, this is why This is why we're doing this show, and why listening is so important. Because look what you're listening to. You're listening to 9, 10 people share profound statements and observations, and they're all right. They're all right on it. They're all pieces of this puzzle of life that you're privy to when you listen. And I may not remember a thing anybody says, or maybe I'll remember something. But what I will take away is a feeling, a bigness of my capacity for life gets bigger and bigger.
Marilyn,
Yeah.
Margherita is ready. She's locked and loaded. I want to hear what she's got to say. That river of balance. I want to hear it. Go, Margherita.
Yeah, I so agree with you, Jamie, when you were talking like this, because the universe gives us everything we need. I believe that. And then when your ego gets in the twist, then it's like, ooh, that hurts. No, I don't want to be in this hurt. And if you instead, and now that's not very easy, if you instead align inside and says, what did I learn from this pain? Oh, yes, I learned that. I am so grateful. And then you let that go, right? And so I think that we're really provided for. As soon as you're right in there, you're provided for. Everything is coming. I have a story of a guy who, he was sort of almost homeless, and they lived in this house, and they had shut off the electricity. And I met him in person, actually. And then the winter was going on, and it was snowing, and it was so freezing cold. And then he said, I probably need to get some wood. The next hour, this whole tree fell down outside of his door. And so he could just go out and saw off little pieces of that dead tree and then have wood for the winter. So that's an example of somebody who doesn't really do anything other than being in the flow. They are being taken care of. And the rest of us, we're in the head, we're running around like naughty gremlins and suffering and suffering and suffering. I mean, isn't that so funny?
Well, the universe gives us our ego too. Right? It's giving us everything. And and the interesting thing about something you just said, I don't know what it was, but something you just said, Marguerite, thought to myself, now listen, when we first started, before we came out here live, this is the fullest our film strip has been. And we were wondering somewhat how everybody was going to talk and how it was going to go. And the universe gave us some kind of expanded time. Because I keep looking at my watch and time has gone by slowly. Not because this is boring by no stretch of the imagination, just because everybody had so much to share, and it's so important that this hour has not been like any other hour. We got more time. Go figure. Gail?
That was, excuse me, that was really profound, what you just said. There are so many things that I could respond to because, as we all know, this is my favorite topic, right? So my gosh, I have to just pick something.
Maybe you don't have to respond. Maybe that's the difference between a need and a want. What is it for you right now? Do you need to respond or you want to respond? But you don't have to.
I know.
I mean, because this is one of your favorite topics, maybe this is a point in time where you just observe.
Well, I have been. I've been pretty quiet. I've been taking it all in. Yeah. I do want to say something.
Okay, there was the
I
want.
feel it's a need. I feel it's a need.
Okay.
So, and there's so many things, but I'm just going to go with this one, even though what you just said was so profound too. And it's all connected. But at some point in the conversation, we were talking about how, it really takes something to come in touch with what we need. I think, Heidi, you started talking about it at first, how for such a long time you were just really concerned about everybody else's needs, and then I think we all experience that to a certain extent, to really finally allow ourselves, to have our needs. And I think that's great, and I think it's profound. And in a way, I think it's the first step, in a sense, on the spiritual journey, or it's a step on the spiritual journey, because once we have that, okay, we know what we need, but then what about when somebody else needs something exactly at the same time that you need your thing, and okay, great, I'm sorry, my son just needs something.
Well, that's just happening right now. I'm like, oh my God.
Right, it's happening right now. So you need, right, see, okay, here you go. So I needed to be talking and making my point, and now here my son comes in and he had a need, he had to really tell me something. This was exactly the point I was trying to make. So how perfect is that? So what do you do when the needs conflict, okay? So that's the question, what do you do? And it's not only about my need, okay? Because my son had his need as well, and many times you have to put your children's needs before your needs, but not all the time. Sometimes you don't. So what happened when those needs conflict? Then what do you do? And I think personally, what I need to do is listen. And when I listen, I know exactly what to do, which is what I just did.
And what did you just do?
I addressed my son's need. I felt like I fumfered a little bit here, and I may have come off a little like, I don't know, mixed up or something like that, but I also knew that that was okay, because I was like really present in the moment, and I knew everything that was going on at the same time, and I knew that he needed to tell me, and I listened, and then I would come back here, and that everything would be perfect. And look how amazing it is, because here I was, I mean, get this, right? Here I was trying to explain, hypothetically maybe, something where it just happened. I mean, how perfect that the need was met. I was trying to explain something, and here, now the universe just like gave me this example right there. I mean, talk about gratitude, okay? See, I could bring that in, because to me, not only do I have gratitude for this, but I'm just welling up with joy. It's beyond gratitude to me. It's like when we can really appreciate that we honestly get everything we need, as this has been said before by several of us, like, then all those wants that we have, they become so petty compared to that awareness that every one of our needs is met.
You just and I'm watching my watch. So maybe in about a minute and a half or 2 minutes, you got to demo 3 profound somethings that came through, and summing up what has gone on through this entire hour in like a minute and a half. It just happened.
And we had all the time we need. You see that? And look at that need being met. It's like that was one of the things I wanted to address. And here I am thinking, I have to choose. There's this, there's that, there's this. And look what happened. I just was in the flow, and it all was met. Everything. It was all given to us. I mean, like that could make that, I want to weep, Like just from the awareness.
This is the universe.
We get what we need. It's like, how does that compare to having a big house, You could have this big house and feel so empty inside. Or you could have nothing and be so filled with joy knowing that you have what you need. What more could anybody want?
I have no idea. Because honestly, what just happened? Who wants to address it? Jamie, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say very quickly that this is just amazing. I mean, for me, this is just a perfect example when a group of beautiful, enlightened souls get together with this kind of focus, then everything comes into alignment, and it's almost like there's a greater presence, you know, that's bigger than the individuals who are here. But that presence comes from within us, right? And it's when it all comes together and it does these things, like what happened just now with Gail. I mean, that's just incredible. She was just trying to explain something, and then literally it happened so that it could be demonstrated exactly what she was explaining. I mean, I just find this so beautiful, and that's why I love this conversation and to be in this presence of this energy flowing in alignment.
And there is something greater going on here. Trust me. Elaine.
Okay. The word for all of this is the child shows up. The child shows up, and we get to respond to the child who has shown up. Before this whole thing with Gail happened, when you were talking about listening again, the image that flashed in my mind was of one of the 7 dwarfs, Dopey with the big ears. Dopey, who's kind of probably the youngest of the dwarfs, and kind of doesn't know stuff, walks around happy, but has these big ears. And so what I'm weaving together is the child is showing up and the child is listening. And it's just like Dopey, you know? So it's like, I want to say, let's all remember our inner Dopey. You know, the adult thinks it knows it all, or when it doesn't know it, it says, I gotta figure it out. And the child within us just is being curious, is listening, is engaging, is more being in the now. And so this whole thing of the child showing up with Gail's son showing, I mean, so amazing. To what was going on in my head and this whole thread, and wow. Just wow. I love being here.
I just want to say thank you, universe. Heidi?
I accompany you in saying thank you to the universe and thank you to everybody, because it's really lovely to be in this energy together. And to everybody has a puzzle piece, you know, and we bring it together, and it's never finished. It's always open to be readjusted, recreated, remodulated, and it's wonderful. Thank you.
Kalyani? Just a few seconds.
I just want to end with that. I love that every week we have between us a collective want and a desire to just share profound experience and messages into the world, and we have no need to come together with an agenda.
Beautiful. Katrina?
Look what's being created when we just show up. Just show up. Creativity flows through us however it shows up in that moment, and we're in the present. It's pretty beautiful.
So I have a thought, but I don't know. Margherita?
I'm so grateful. I mean, I just feel so ecstatic to be with all of you ladies, and Jamie, thank you. And it's like I feel this river, and I want you, who's listening, also to tap into that inner river that you actually have. That's my last word for today.
Thank you. Sheila?
I can't tell you the number of times I've wanted to just stand and applaud, because I was so grateful for what was said, how it affected me, and the richness of your responses is just absolutely wonderful. And may I announce, because I have to leave and go to another, I just have to scoot off. I am no longer hungry. You have fulfilled my need. Thank you. I'm gonna be rushing up. I'll talk to you later,
Okay.
Marilyn.
Thank you, honey.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Very grateful to you.
So I'm going to save that my next thought. So tune in next week, everybody. This was just unbelievable. We went just maybe 2 minutes over the hour with everything that you have said, everything that you've expressed, every topic you've touched, every part of reality of life we've hit and we've watched and we've been a part of. It's just been amazing. And with that, everyone that's listening, you have been privy to something extreme. You've been privy to something extraordinary, something amazing. And I'd love to hear what you think. Really, I mean, it's been just share this with the world, because what's happened here is life zoomed up in an hour for you to see it and what's possible. I mean, you got it. You can work out in an hour. You can listen to life in an hour. You could do. Anyway, we'll be back next week. Thank you all so much for doing this with us. Bye.